Canada's men's U20 national team are about to compete in the 2024 Concacaf U20 qualifiers, where they will take on Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Dominica. If Canada goes on and tops their group, they will qualify for the 2024 U20 Concacaf Championships that take place in the summer of 2024, where there are 4 spots at the 2025 U20 World Cup that will be up for grabs. Canada is looking to qualify for their first U20 World Cup since 2007 in a tournament which they hosted. Safe to say they have a big task ahead of them if they're looking to change that. The good news is Canada has a young, exciting squad with players that are playing at top academies and earning pro minutes who will look to change that this summer. Here are some of the names to keep an eye on. The first player we are going to discuss is Costa, who plays for Wolfsburg's U19s right now. He's represented Portugal at the U16 and the U18 level, as well as Canada at the U20s. He's back with the national team once again for the U20s. So Alex, how exciting is this player?
Yeah, this is huge because he's kind of been a very exciting dual national to keep an eye on. He's an attacking midfielder, which is, they're always exciting to see creative players like him playing in that Wolfsburg system. He's trained with the first team. He's looking to make that breakthrough up from the U19s to the professional level. And it's interesting because for Canada, he actually represented Canada first, accepted a call to those CONCACAF U20 championships where he was Canada's youngest player. Despite that, he ended up being a pretty key player on the team. And as the only player eligible to return, it is excited to see that they bring him back just for a bit of that tournament experience in this sort of setting. So all that's exciting. But since then, unfortunately, with Canada missing out on last edition of the U20 World Cup, he had a chance to do some camps with Portugal. Canada hasn't been doing camps. It was good for him to take that opportunity. What's good is that they were friendlies. He, provisionally at the youth level, he is cap tied to Canada for now. So it's exciting to see him return, and hopefully they can keep that up and pursue him because he looks like a very exciting prospect.
I think he will be one of Canada's most important players for these qualifiers. He's rocking the number 10. We lack a little bit with the creative midfielder, so hopefully long-term he could be a great option for us. The next player we're going to look at is Oumar Diallo, who's an exciting striker who's playing for Inter's U19s. So if for anyone who didn't know, Tajon Buchanan is not the only Canadian playing in the Inter setup right now. Alex's player is going to wear number 9. He's probably going to be expected to score some of the goals, maybe play alongside Jesse Costa in that attacking front. What do you make of this player?
Yeah, another exciting talent playing in a top European system setup. What's exciting is that in Italy, the U19s is kind of where it stops, which has been unfortunate I find for players 20 to 23. I know this has affected Canadians in the past, actually, who have gone to Italy, and after the U19s, it stops. But I think this is important because over the next few years, we're going to see some big developments for Oumar Diallo. He's 18. He's trained with Inter's first team. So hopefully over the next few years, maybe he gets sent on loan, goes and finds his feet professionally, and eventually breaks through at Inter. But he's someone that's highly regarded there. He can score goals. He's a true number 9. I think it's exciting that Canada was able to call him in as a coveted dual national because he's got a lot of upside for a young striker.
Absolutely, and the fact that he's a dual nat makes this so much more exciting. He's also eligible for Guinea, but he hasn't actually represented anyone right now at the youth level, so the fact that there's an opportunity for him to go and play for Canada is exciting. We've seen players in the past like Daniel Jeevan, who hasn't really had the opportunity because England's setup is so strong, so I'm really excited to see what the striker can do. The third player you guys need to keep an eye on is Kimani Stewart-Baynes, and I think this rounds out really the top 3 for me with Costa, Diallo, and Stewart-Baynes. Now, Kimani Stewart-Baynes is with Colorado Rapids right now. There's probably a good chance that he'll stick around, maybe in like a Jason Russell-Rowe type super sub. If not, the second team is very good for him there. He's wearing the number 11. He's an exciting prospect that Alex is very excited about. And for Canadians out there who think that Portland is the kind of U.S. team to keep an eye on because of the Canadians, well, Alex, there's 3 of them right now in Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado quietly putting together a nice group of them. They obviously got Ralph Priso in 2022. Then last year they drafted Moise Bombito very high, and he ended up being a starter by the end of the year for him, a national team player. And hopefully Kimani Stewart-Baynes can follow a similar role. And I think the Bombito path is exactly what you want. Bombito kind of slowly broke in, had some minutes with the second team, made that jump up to the first team. I think some sort of path for Stewart-Baynes like that is key because what's important is he was drafted super high up. Recently, MLS changed their eligibility rules. Usually in the super draft was only like juniors, seniors, those guys who are 21, 22. He's 18 and he was drafted after a year of college. This is very unheard of, but that shows how much potential that he has. So I think I'm very excited to see. He also had stints in the Halifax Wanderers setup. He's a dangerous forward. He can score. but he's also got a bit of a creative side to him. I think hopefully this U20 tournament can be what he needs to get his momentum going into what should be an exciting pro season with Colorado.
It will be a little difficult for him as well because Colorado put a lot of investment in their squad. But like I mentioned, if he could have any type of season similar to Jason Russell-Rowe did with the Crew, I think that'd be a great start for him. Next up is a footballer, not a director, and that is James Cameron from Vancouver FC. This talented right back I think will play a big role for Canada, mainly because he's one of two 19-year-olds. He's got that leadership style to him. And on top of that, Alex is pretty underrated, but a lot of players in this squad have not played pro minutes, and James Cameron has played a ton so far.
Yeah, I think this is a very important discussion to have because you see this a lot in youth tournaments. Look, there's a lot of reasons to be excited for Costa, Diallo, and Stewart-Baynes, who we've just highlighted. They've all got oodles of potential. Especially you see what Costa, Diallo are doing in their setups to push. Stewart-Baynes being a young draft pick, but ultimately it's potential, right? They could end up being players of the tournament, or a stage like this. Maybe the lights are too bright for them. That's the beauty of these youth tournaments. We get to see how these young players react. For what it's worth, typically players who already have pro experience, they're going to do a little better just because they have that experience of playing in front of crowds, playing against other professionals who have been doing this as a career. So because of that, I think James Cameron is one we're really sleeping on. He had over 1,500 professional minutes last year with Vancouver FC. That's one of the most in this squad in terms of pro minutes. And he really grew a lot. He was thrown into the fire as a fullback. Fun story, he's actually a winger. So he was converted into a fullback, and right away he was going up against some of the top wingers in CPL. Did not look out of place and just grew as the year went along. I think he's a fun story because, in 2022, he was playing high school ball in Vancouver. He got an invitation to go to the open trials. His dad kind of pushed him like, hey, go. He's like, I don't really want to, make that jump. He ends up, screw it, makes it to the first team. And now a year later, he's representing his country and is one of the top young CPLers to watch. It's a great story. And I think he's going to rise to this challenge as he showed in pro minutes last year.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about Cameron is how quickly he became a fan favorite in Vancouver. And like I reported on a while ago, he went on trial with Luton Town and Everton. That experience is so vital for a young player, and I'm expecting him to be a leader in the squad. Jeevan Badwal is the next player we're going to touch on, and Alex has actually had the opportunity to see him live quite a bit, and he's very excited about this youngster who's coming through the Whitecaps Academy and into the second team. So Alex, tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, Badwal's a super exciting prospect in the Vancouver system. Last year, he kind of broke out with the Canada U17s in the qualifiers, and then he had an excellent World Cup. He had a phenomenal game in the opener against Spain. He was up against guys who've played professionally for Barcelona, and he was one of the standouts on the pitch. And, we've seen it last year. He kind of got a chance to go up to Whitecaps FC2 and already play professionally. This year, he signed a Whitecaps FC2 deal, so he's going to play professionally. He did his preseason with the Whitecaps first team. He's gotten a call up to the first team, didn't play. He's on such an exciting trajectory, but there's a big reason why. And you're going to see it in this tournament. He's a midfielder, and he just knows how to do all those little things in his game. Sometimes as a youngster, you can get a bit excited. You want to do everything on the pitch. You want to be the guy. You want to show you can hang at the top level. But sometimes there's beauty in simplicity, and I think that's what really stands about Badwal. He knows how to make the right passes. He knows when to dribble. He knows when to defer. And I think sometimes that kind of skill set can be very underrated amongst a youngster. So I think he could really hold it down in the midfield and, do a lot of the dirty work that will allow some of these more offensive names we've mentioned earlier to shine.
So Alex, we don't know much about this next player, but he is one that I'm very intrigued about. That is Santiago Lopez from Pumas. This is a youngster who's coming through the Pumas Academy and actually played for Pumas so far this season. He came off the bench twice, has been named to the bench 4 times. He's going to be an attacking player. I think from what I've read, he's got a little creative side to him. And like I mentioned earlier, it's just so important to have an opportunity for these dual nationals to come over. No one even knew he was on the radar and was eligible to represent Canada. And all of a sudden, we now have a Mexican Canadian choosing to represent Canada at this level.
Yeah, it's huge from the dual national perspective. Of course, you want to get as many guys as you can on the fence to show them the experience of playing with Canada, build some chemistry that could pay off down the road, especially if a handful of guys from this team make it up to the first team. That's huge, right? That's what you want from these youth tournaments. At the end of the day, results aside. And Lopez it's exciting just because, again, like we said, pro minutes are huge. So the fact that he's been able to break into a big team like Pumas, right? Like that's not easy to get minutes as a youngster for Pumas, a team that wants to be competing for Liga MX titles, for CONCACAF Champions Cup glory. So it's exciting to see him get these minutes, and hopefully he can build on it. So while we haven't maybe seen as much of him, I think that pro experience could potentially make him a sleeper player to keep an eye on in that attack, which, again, like we mentioned, a lot of potential there, but having that pro experience, I think, is going to be a huge advantage.
The last player we're going to touch on is Kevaughn Tavernier, who scored his first professional goal at the time of recording last night in a continental competition against a massive club like Chivas. He's a very highly rated youngster out of Forge. He's another CPLer on this squad, the second one, along with James Cameron and Alex. I mean, this kid's got to be on a high right now. First getting the call up, scoring the goal against Chivas, and I think that he could hopefully bring something to the squad.
Yeah, he's an exciting, prospect to watch. More of a winger, attacker for Forge. He didn't really get much, chance to play last year. His first pro season, he was kind of eased in. Forge had some other options for U21 minutes. But it's exciting to see how things have really gone for him for the last little bit. He made that U17 World Cup team, played a decently sized role, had some good showings there for Canada. And now for him to start this season like he has for Forge, I mean, the fact is it's continental competition, right? You don't need to throw youth out there. It's not CPL where you have the minutes requirement. For Bobby Smirnotis to trust him like that away, to Chivas, one of the toughest teams, in Mexico to play in those sorts of environments, throw him out there. He scores a beautiful goal, by the way, just the way he, hit that ball with his right, and it drove into that low left corner. You got to love the technique. I think it's a sign of things to come. Smirnotis is going to trust him big time. He's going to help him get those U21 minutes, and I think that's going to pay off and allow him to reach some of that potential. So based on that, I think he's someone that maybe he might not have all the flash yet, just because he hasn't had that many pro minutes, but I think this goal could push him in a big direction for club and country.
If Canada are able to qualify for the championships or for the World Cup, then they will be able to call in players who weren't able to be at this camp due to club commitments, or players who just aren't on the radar yet. Luc de Fougerolles was a player who's been recently called up by the Canadian men's national team, who was retained by Fulham for this camp. And there's also some other names who just haven't broken out yet. And with some talented kids out there, it's not unrealistic to see them break out and maybe play a role in one of these two upcoming tournaments. So let us know what you thought about our list, and if you enjoyed this video. And as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub, and we'll see you guys soon. Cheers, friends.